You're listening to Mind the Gap with Michael Comyn. Today's episode, The Confident Fool and the Quiet Expert. How the world rewards the wrong kind of certainty. Why does the world so often reward overconfidence and overlook quiet competence? From ancient Stoic wisdom to modern emotional intelligence, Michael explores the fine line between self-doubt and self-delusion, and what it really means to lead with humility and clarity. Here's Michael.
Hello, and welcome to Mind the Gap, the podcast where ancient wisdom and modern emotional intelligence converge. I'm Michael Comyn. Today we're exploring a curious paradox. Why does the world often reward those who exude unshakable certainty, even when it's unwarranted, while genuinely competent people quietly second-guess themselves? It's the story of the confident fool and the quiet expert. Or put another way, the Dunning-Kruger Effect versus the imposter complex. Let's start with a familiar scene. On the international political stage, we frequently see bold, overconfident leaders making grand claims with absolute conviction, even when they're flat out wrong. Their confidence, however misplaced, often garners attention, votes, and power. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the true experts might speak carefully, couching their words with nuance or doubt, worrying, am I really qualified to speak up? As a result, the loud certainty drowns out the softer voice of expertise. In Ireland, we have a charming term for a brazenly confident opportunist: a chancer. The Irish chancer is the fellow who'll bluff his way through any situation, armed with little more than cheeky self-assurance. We laugh about how he chances his arm, talking his way into jobs he's not qualified for, or confidently offering opinions on topics he barely understands. And you know what? Often the chancer gets away with it. His swagger opens doors that a more hesitant person might never try. And yeah, he's a he. This brings us to two psychological concepts that frame today's episode. On one side, we have the Impostor Syndrome, the nagging self-doubt that afflicts high achievers. On the other side, we have the Dunning-Kruger Effect, a cognitive bias where people with low ability or knowledge overestimate their competence. In short, the quiet expert versus the confident fool. Our journey today will contrast these two mindsets and explore why society often falls for overconfidence. We'll draw lessons from Stoic philosophers on humility and self-knowledge, and we'll tap into emotional intelligence research, including a fascinating technique called distance self-talk, to find balance. By the end, we'll discuss practical strategies to overcome imposter feelings and how to navigate or mitigate the impact of confident fools around us. If you've ever thought, I don't belong here, they overestimated me, I'm going to be exposed as a fraud, you're far from alone. In fact, an estimated 70% of people report feeling like imposters at some point in their working lives. Picture a brilliant scientist preparing to present her research, heart pounding as she worries her work isn't good enough. Or an experienced CEO chalking up success to luck, terrified that others will realize he's not as smart as they think. This is the imposter complex in action. High achievers unable to internalize their success. Even famous, accomplished people have felt this way. Maya Angelou, author of 11 books, once confessed, each time I think, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everyone and they're going to find me out. Imposter feelings don't reflect reality. They reflect a distorted self-image. Psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Eames first identified this imposter phenomenon in 1978. Common triggers include starting a new job, being in a high-performance environment, or feeling different from peers. Often, imposter syndrome leads to over-preparation and overwork to compensate for perceived inadequacies. You might hesitate to speak up, deflect praise, or avoid opportunities unless you meet every requirement. These behaviours, though rooted in doubt, often reflect high competence. Now let's turn to the flip side. The confident fool, emblematic of the Dunning-Kruger Effect. If imposter feelings make the most capable doubt themselves, Dunning-Kruger shows us the opposite. The least capable often grossly overestimate their abilities. The Dunning-Kruger Effect, identified by researchers Dunning and Kruger in 1999, demonstrates that people who are unskilled or uninformed in a domain can be overly confident in their judgments. A classic example was the man who robbed banks after covering his face in lemon juice, believing that it would make him invisible to cameras. It didn't, and his bafflement at being caught was genuine. This effect plays out in serious ways. Surveys show that people with the least knowledge are often the most certain they know more than experts. To visualize it, imagine a graph. Initial ignorance yields to a peak of overconfidence, followed by a valley of despair as awareness increases, and finally, a gradual slope of enlightenment where true competence and humility reside. The Stoics would have recognized both types. Epictetus said it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. This speaks to the Dunning-Kruger effect and its limitations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake, or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change." True confidence includes being open to being wrong. For the quiet expert, the Stoics offer validation. Humility is strength, but denying your competence isn't virtue. For the confident fool, the Stoics offer caution. Unchecked ego leads to downfall. True self-knowledge and ethical actions central to Stoicism help bridge the gap between inflated certainty and harmful self-doubt. Emotional intelligence helps us manage the balance between competence and confidence. Self-awareness, a core emotional intelligence component, involves knowing our strengths and limitations. For the quiet expert, this means developing accurate self-assessment and using tools like a confidence ledger to record and review your past successes. Psychologist Ethan Kross, who we mentioned in a previous episode, suggests distant self-talk, speaking to yourself in the third person to calm nerves and gain clarity. Instead of, "I can't do this," try, "Michael, you've handled tougher things before." You know that's true. For the confident fool, emotional intelligence means cultivating curiosity and openness to feedback. Asking, "What evidence do I have?" or "Who knows more?" injects a useful humility. Practicing mindful pauses, reflecting before responding, and encouraging feedback-rich environments can help us all walk the line between doubt and delusion with more wisdom. Name the pattern. Recognize whether you're experiencing impostor syndrome or seeing Dunning-Kruger in action. Awareness is key. Borrow the Stoic pause. Don't rush. Pause. Question your assumptions and reflect. Ask, is this thought true? Is it useful? Seek reality anchors. Get honest feedback from trusted peers. Don't live in an echo chamber. Set the standard. Don't emulate chancers. Quietly raise the bar. Let preparation and integrity speak for you. Use distanced self-talk. Shift your inner narrative to something more compassionate and confident to yourself. Know when to step up. Confidence follows action. You don't have to feel perfect to act wisely and competently. There will always be people who bluff their way through and those who hold back despite their brilliance. Let the chancers bluff. Let the fools boast. But remember, true confidence doesn't shout, it stands. Real confidence is quiet. It's built through work, self-awareness, and courage. And humility, that's not weakness. That's wisdom. So whether you're the quiet expert needing a little more self-trust, or recognizing the confident fool within or around you, the path forward is the same. Keep learning, stay humble, and lead with truth. Thanks for listening to Mind the Gap. I'm Michael Comyn. Until next time, mind the gap between confidence and competence, between noise and wisdom, and between who you are and who the world tells you to be.
And that's it for this episode of Mind the Gap. If you've ever found yourself second-guessing your own expertise or wondering how some people get by on confidence alone, know this: awareness is the first step. You're not alone, and you're not without power. The world needs more people who think deeply, act wisely, and lead with quiet courage. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to follow or subscribe to Mind the Gap, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you know someone who might benefit from this reflection, feel free to share it with a friend or colleague. You can also leave a rating or review. It helps others find the show, and it lets us know what's connecting with you.